Do you miss WoW? Not right now. There could come a day, you know, when I miss the glory days of WoW, but as of right now, those days are over. I mean, maybe Classic Plus will bring everybody back. I sincerely doubt that Classic Plus is going to be the game that people want. I really do feel like WoW players just want old school RuneScape with WoW graphics and movement and bigger raids so you can play with more people. Because that's like the basis of WoW, is like being able to just have a guild, people that you raid with once a week. You guys log on, see each other, try to get loot, but you never do. But I really like the number go up thing. Well, we could talk about it for a second. But I mean, there's some things that I do miss in WoW. And there's a lot of things that I don't. I would say one of the things that I miss from WoW is the guilds. The guild system and the chat. Like being able to chat within your guild and then messaging people and like being able to see who's online, look up what skills they have and stuff like that. I don't know. That interface for that is really nice. And then like being in a party, just like being in a party with someone, you have to do all this stuff with add-ons in RuneScape. And I definitely miss the feeling of like being immersed in the world, like running around. I love the graphics. I've never really been much of a fan of top-down. RuneScape is by far my favorite like top-down game ever. And so I guess I do kind of still miss the over-the-shoulder from WoW because it's more immersive. I like being able to look out and see the world. You know, I like this view. If we could play RuneScape like this, I think this would be sick. But it's not the way the game is designed. Other than that, though, like I don't really miss too much more about WoW than that. I would just say, yeah, the guilds, a few people that I used to play with, and you know, the raids once a week. But in a way, I also think that the raids once a week is one of the things that I don't miss too. Like I don't really like the lockouts. I like the RuneScape system where you could just raid whenever you want. And the reason that people make so many alts in World of Warcraft is because they always want to raid. They always want to be able to log in and raid. And so you make more alts so you can keep raiding, you know? Yeah. So the best thing that RuneScape does is horizontal progression. It's just so good. Classic Plus needs some challenging solo content. That's the problem with WoW. That's another issue, guys. Another issue with World of Warcraft is that it has 8 different classes. And it's like the developers have to develop like 8 times the amount of content as Jagex developers. Because in RuneScape, there's only one class. We all play the same class. It's all equal. So then you run into balancing issues and you have to make more loot. You have to make loot not only for, you know, warriors. You got to make it for mages and everything. It's so difficult for them to do that. But I just don't know. Like, would you guys like to see solo content in WoW? I don't know if there's any WoW players in here. I think smaller content is kind of the way to go. Or flex. Dare I say flex content is the best way to go, but how do you do flex content for 2 people in WoW when it's a Trinity system? You know what I mean? You have tank, healer, and DPS in WoW. That's where it's fundamentally challenging to make smaller content, right? So I don't know how you beat that. You need fundamental changes to core systems. Exactly. And I don't know if people are going to like that. I personally don't think that Horde and Alliance works anymore either. That's probably a controversial topic right there. But that's why retail WoW exists, and like they got rid of Horde and Alliance. You know, you can play with anybody on any server too. Like that's something that needs to come to Classic. It's just outdated game design. Classic worked a long time ago. I don't think that works anymore. I don't think Horde and Alliance works. I don't think servers work anymore, guys. Like, a lot of this stuff... Dude, did I just get owned right there? Blizzard has a very, very tough challenge if they're going to try to, you know, make the game, you know, similar to, like, why... have similar things to RuneScape and why RuneScape is successful. And I really do feel like people are looking for a lot of the features that RuneScape has. I want WoW to be great again. I just don't know how. I don't know how, personally, to make WoW great again. I think half the changes that they do to the game, a lot of people will like and a lot of people will not like. And every time you change anything about the game, it'll split the player base even more. Classic player base doesn't agree on anything. And I really don't think that the players know what they actually want. So it's a tough conversation to have of like, you know, how do you make Classic WoW great again? It's just, I really don't think that you can win with the with the fundamentals of like how the game is built, like the framework of how the game is with the class trinity system and the big raids. I don't think you win with classic WoW. Maybe WoW 2. Almost got stacked out right there. Almost died right there, boys. Clutched it. Clutched it. Not even close. Start over WoW 2 and go linear. If somehow... Well, here's the thing. Like, WoW 2 technically will be Classic Plus. First off, you need 2 versions of WoW. You need Retail, which is an ARPG dungeon and raid simulator. Hamster wheel. You run Mythic Plus to get gear for the raid. You run Raid to get gear for high Mythic Plus. And it kind of just like those two just back and forth. And that's all it is. It's just Mythic Plus spamming into raid spamming and then do it again on an ult. That's the whole game. You need that version of the game. And then you need Classic Plus, which it should take you like 6 months to reach max level, horizontal progression. You have a development team that makes raids forever. And there's only a few upgrades in each raid, and you should add in type damage instead of resistance, because resistance is boring. You should do what RuneScape does, and you should add type damage to weapons, type damage gear, so you do more damage to fire people when you're doing like, when you have certain gear that adds like water effects to your gear, right? So it's like you have certain mobs that are weak to stab. So if I was a mage, there would be certain bosses in the raid that are weak to frost, so frost mages would be good against that boss, and like you could bring frost weapons to do more damage to that boss. That style of system keeps the game more horizontal for a longer period of time, right? You need to completely revamp the secondary skills, change all that up. It all needs to be reworked. The secondary skills in WoW are bad. In my opinion, I like this system better, but it doesn't have to be exactly like RuneScape. And you shouldn't be locked to 2 professions. You should be able to do every profession. That way, people can like hard main one character if they want, and they could do everything instead of having to level alt so that your alt can do those other professions. And that's really starting to change the fundamentals of the game now. Now we're starting to rework World of Warcraft. And so for me, I would want World of Warcraft, like WoW Classic 2, like Classic Plus, to be more like RuneScape. And so we get into that conversation, and it's like, I really just want WoW and RuneScape to have like the best parts of both of it and like merge both. I don't know, even if you took a hybrid of World of Warcraft and RuneScape, if it would be better than just playing old school RuneScape. I'm not seeing if that can happen. I think old school RuneScape might just be a better game than whatever they could do to change classic WoW. I am not seeing that picture. I guess I am kind of saying OSRS might just be a better game. It might just be a better game no matter what they do to Classic Plus, because of the flaws in servers, Horde and Alliance, 8 different classes, which requires more gear, more systems, more, like just way more development. And then it brings issues into horizontal progression, which is tough. It's tough to do, is to keep your game horizontal for 20 years, which I think that OSRS has done a fantastic job at. The other advantage that old school RuneScape has is you could do the hardest content in the game on a level 3 if you wanted. You can't log in on a level 1 and go do Molten Core. You can't do that. There's more room for expression and unique characters and unique content creators in RuneScape than there is in all of World of Warcraft. You have guys like Rindy who are doing, like level 80 content as a level 3, and it's really cool to see people do that. Like you can actually land hits on bosses as a level 10 in this game. You can't do that in World of Warcraft. That goes back to the framework, the network of how the game is built. It just doesn't work. The things that work in RuneScape just do not work in classic WoW. And that's why I say, like, the framework that old school RuneScape is built upon, one class, everybody can do every skill. You can land hits on any mob that's any level, doesn't matter what level you are. those three fundamentals allow way more room for expression and unique gameplay, where World of Warcraft will never be able to touch that. And so I found that I prefer classless MMOs with horizontal progression that are number go up driven. I prefer this. Can they make Classic WoW great again? I don't think so. Unless they start chopping up the foundation of the game. That's kind of like where my headspace is with Classic WoW versus RuneScape, etc. And even Turtle WoW, in my opinion, would be boring after a little while. Turtle WoW is good, but after a few months, it's boring. It's the fundamentals of the game. It's just not what we're looking for, I think. Not what I'm looking for. And there's a lot of features that they added. But do you understand? You can add a ton of stuff to a 1-bedroom house, right? But it's still a 1-bedroom house. And you're trying to fit a lot of people in there. You're trying to have a big party. You got to change the foundation. It's got to be a bigger game at the end of the day. I feel like the foundation of the game is just too small. It doesn't allow for a big enough game loop. And I don't know how you fix it. It's okay to migrate, then come back. We did it for EOC. Yeah, World of Warcraft, I feel like with its current game design, will always be a seasonal thing. You go play for a little bit, you check out the new raid, and then you quit. It's not like a forever game like RuneScape is. And I really feel like a lot of people want World of Warcraft to be a forever game, and it's not. And that's sad. But it's just not a forever game. All Blizzard games turn out to be seasonal. Even Battleground in Hearthstone got destroyed by seasonality. Maybe that's not a Blizzard problem. Maybe that's our problem. That we want Blizzard to be something that it's not. And it took me a long time to realize that. Let them be what they want. Let them be what they want. We got RuneScape. That's why we got RuneScape, baby. An issue with OSRS early game lures you to think the combat is basic if you don't get spoiled. And clearly it's not. So people who try on a whim end up leaving before getting to actual content, which takes a normal person with a job months. But at the same time, you can only make things so mechanically challenged in an early game too. This is a fundamental issue of RuneScape that I've noticed because a lot of my friends that have tried the game have quit. I believe that they quit because they didn't get to the challenging part of the game quick enough. And then Zaryu, my friend Zar, is realizing that he is never going to be able to compete with the amount of time that me, Savix, and Shobek are able to play the game. And now he's discouraged and doesn't even want to log in anymore. So this is why I saw this problem coming. And when Zaryu presented with the problem that he had, I suggested that he de-iron. Because I want to play with my friend Zar. Now, somebody like Savix is not capable of seeing the future like this. He's only capable of seeing Iron Man Giga Chad. He's like a Zug-Zugger type of guy. You know, he likes to just charge in full speed and he's do what I do. I'm doing the best thing. But sometimes what you're doing is not the best for everybody else. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm not the greatest gamer, but I like to raid lead because I like to be able to see what others are doing and try to help them play their best. And so that's why I really love, that's my favorite part about World of Warcraft is raid leading, right? It's what I've loved. I've loved doing that forever. So that type of mentality is being able to see what other people are capable of. You don't tell the guy in your raid who is already mechanically challenged, overstimulated. You don't put Shobek on the hard mechanic in the game where he has to do his rotation and go and pick up the orb and move it over to the basket. You don't put Shobek on that mechanic. You put Savix on that mechanic. Right, guys? So that's just how it works. Zaryu, in this situation, is Shobek. He is not going to be able to do what is required for him to be able to enjoy the game. So you don't keep telling him, just keep banging your head against the wall, right? No, you come up with a solution. Otherwise, he's going to quit. So that's why I think Zaryu should just de-iron. Iron Man is not for him. And you know what, guys? That's okay. That's totally fine. He's just going to have to deal with the Savixes that come into his chat and tell him that he's dumb for de-ironing. He's going to have to deal with that the rest of his life. But that's fine. You're just going to have to mentally prepare for that. That's all you can do. All you can do is try to just mentally prepare for that. People ain't gonna just randomly stop saying it. They're gonna say it all day long because the Iron Men in this game are loud. They are loud. They love Iron Man. They want everybody else to love Iron Man. But that is never going to happen. It is not for everyone. That's why they have different modes. And that's okay. If you're a main, that's okay. I am still going to make fun of you. And in a way, Iron Man in the game is kind of the purest form of an MMO that you can play. Because the purest form of an MMO is back in the day when you were a kid and you saw the guy standing in Orgrimmar with full tier 1 or full tier 2, and you were looking up to him, or he had high warlord gear, and you knew that you would never have that because you didn't have as much time to play the game as he did. That is Iron Man, is what we're all chasing, is like that feeling. We want to feel like that guy, and some of us are older now. We have a little bit more time to play the game. Now we're all chasing the feeling. We're all trying to be that guy. Because we don't get the joy and the justification and the value and the glory from playing mains. Because people will know or think that we bought the gear. And buying the gear is stupid. Because you're just skipping the game, almost. You're just skipping the game.